Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Let's Talk ABM with me, Declan, CMO of account-based marketing agency Strategic ABM. ABM is one of the hottest B2B strategies right now, helping companies to win, grow and retain their most important accounts. This podcast allows me to spend some time talking to account-based marketing leaders about their ABM programs and share their insights with other B2B marketers, wherever you are on your ABM journey. Well, today I'm joined by Richard Lane and Lee Durham of durhamlane. Gentlemen, thank you for joining me today. Perhaps could one of you tell me a little bit about durhamlane and maybe something that maybe people don't know about the company?
Go on, Rich.
Declan, great to be with you. Thanks for inviting us. Durhamlane, we're a demand and lead generation agency. We come from a background of sales performance, and there are three core services to our business. The largest part of our business is creating demand, both the upfront demand and then the qualification of that demand into a sales qualified lead. We also have our own sales methodology, which maybe is the thing people don't know. Selling at a high level is our way of working, our methodology that we also train clients in. And then we build teams, and we have a recruitment team that are able to build you your own demand and lead generation team if you don't want to outsource it.
Thank you, Richard. So obviously we've been talking over the last few weeks about what's been happening. Obviously we're living through rather extraordinary times. Lee, Richard, what have you both learned over the course of the last few weeks?
You go first on this one then, Lee.
I think, great question, Declan. I think you certainly, the whole approach to the market at the moment is one of, empathy, but being ever more professional than ever before, one would suggest, because of what's going on in and around us, really. So I think we've coined the phrase hashtag never stop selling, as we've learned a lot, I guess, through past challenging times, 9/11 being one of them. So I think it's very important for people to understand, appreciate that, wheels of commerce have got to keep turning, as does the economy. And I don't think we should be ashamed of the fact that we should be able to sell and position our wares. I think we just have to do it in a very, very, as I say, more subtle and empathetic way than ever before. So I think that's key. I think, also, working from home for us is we've been fortunate that we've talked about it for a long time, but it's really forced our hand in terms of some of the technologies that we use, but also, especially with working from home. We moved to a new headquarters building 2 years ago. We went all cloud-based. Fortunately, we did, because it allowed us to mobilize, very quickly when this all kicked off. So, I think there's a lot of learning all around, but I think with that in mind, getting through this, and we will, and as I'm sure a lot of companies will, we will hope to come out of it a bigger, better, stronger business, more streamlined, and in a position to, to scale, not just in EMEA where we predominantly focus, but obviously globally as well, with full multilingual capability. Richard, anything to add there?
Yeah, I think we've always been, we are a people business. We're a resourcing company. So our people in the the adage are our most important asset. And I think what's been really interesting about this global crisis is that everybody's had to take a really good hard look at the people they have in their business and think more carefully about how they work with them. And to Lee's point there, we've become a really good virtual working organization. I used to say our USP was our three core services all under one roof, and actually, that roof has sort of been blown away and has become a virtual roof. But we've got some great ways of working. Our team have been magnificent and really have adapted really, really well. And I hear that with a lot of customers and other people that I speak with who feel the same way, and everyone seems to have grasped the challenge and are making business work.
Yeah, and just touching on a point that you raised earlier, actually, there's also been a lot of talk on LinkedIn and other channels about whether or not it's the right time to sell at the moment. And you touched on it there, saying that businesses should continue to operate, the wheels keep turning. What's been some of the feedback perhaps from your clients around the idea of selling at the moment?
I think, natural instinct is to put the brakes on when something like this kicks off. And I think, again, people that have lived through previous experiences, know better to do that. So whereas we've had some clients, pause and slow down, we've only had one client cancel. We've allowed that to happen even though on a 12-month contract, because their whole business was geared up around the hospitality space. And we're not a business that wants to, do wrong by people, and in challenging times like this, then we need to, act and be different as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's challenging times for all people. So we just got to act and shape up in different ways.
And let's just talk a little bit about Durham Lane and ABM. So what role does the Durham Lane play in the kind of whole ABM ecosystem?
So we come, as I said at the beginning, we come from a sales performance background. So our business, and we're in our 10th year of business as Durham Lane, has been about creating qualified opportunities. So, if you related it to the hauliers, it's the important last mile. And I think what happens in the world of ABM often is that organizations get pretty fixated around MQL, marketing qualified lead. What we're starting and how we're positioning ourselves is the conduit between marketing and sales. So we can create that MQL for you. We can take an MQL that you've created as part of an ABM flow or whatever. And perhaps most importantly, we can then convert that into an SQL and make it sales ready. And ever since I first started working a long time ago now, there's always been this friction between marketing and sales. And because we come from the sales background, but we also understand the world of marketing, then we're proving that we can become that conduit and translate all of the effort that goes in. And I think the effort on both sides is extensive, and often for some reason the roads don't meet in the middle, and we're trying to position ourselves as that organization.
And touching on that point actually around the whole MQL to SQL, or sales qualified lead or sales qualified account, how do you help companies do better ABM?
So part of it is, I think we offer a very thin slice of focused marketing activity. So from an ABM point of view, we're not ABM specialists. We work with people like Strategic IC who do that part. Where we come on is picking up the baton later on to be able to qualify the interest that is created into a sales qualified lead, and ultimately, it's about creating revenue. So we should all be focused on the same goal. We're getting more and more interested into the demand phase of that demand and lead generation. But we're very much we have an ability to partner with organizations that run those programs. We have the ability to run the full program, but we most importantly focus on that SQL creation and qualification.
Yeah,
I think it's fair to say, Declan, that they are very, very much two different skill sets. I think most people, most companies, and most individuals within organisations, recognise that sales, marketing, very two separate. But if you can bring those two worlds together and climb in a successful way, then it's a formula that can be is highly scalable and can be and is invincible in terms of what it can create in terms of the success. So yeah, forming that blend together, or that dovetail effect, then it's a winning formula. And I think more companies need to, especially smaller mid enterprise businesses that want to become larger enterprises, let's say.
Yeah, and just going back to those couple of points you mentioned there, Richard and Lee. Obviously, sales and marketing alignment is key to the success of any sales program, and particularly for any ABM program. Can you talk us through a use case of how you've seen this best work with one of your clients?
Yeah, so we've got a client. I won't name them, but they're one of the world's largest telecommunication companies, and we've been working with them over the last 6-9 months, helping them to create new markets in France, Italy, and now Germany. And so that's been a real blended approach. So they had a footprint in their home market, they had a footprint in the UK, but absolutely zero footprint elsewhere. So we've got focused on those countries. We've gone out, we've again provided a thin slice of marketing activity, which follows our methodology in terms of the approach. We're looking at the various personas that we know where they're successful, and creating messaging that resonates, that is hopefully finding people when they're looking out of the window of dissatisfaction, which is a phrase I love, which I wish was my own, but it belongs to a guy I know called Craig Elias in Canada. But looking at people know they need to do something different, but haven't started trying to solve the problem yet. So we've got really good at creating messaging that finds people in that state, and then our sales services follow in on the back of that and start qualifying. And it's about being inquisitive. It's a very question-based approach. It's about being interested to be interesting, and it's about just going out and finding the need and diagnosing and business fit, business value orientated. And from that, we've been able to create a range of qualified opportunities, both in terms of growing their partner network, but also finding end customers for those partners to then sell to. So, we've created businesses for our customer in 2 new markets, which were total virgin ground for them.
And we're also looking now further afield at taking them, potentially out of the UK and EMEA and looking at the US as well as a potential, big market opportunity for those. And by using tools like Nexus by Science, which is obviously how we came to meet Strategic IC, we can, intelligent tools like that allow us to, identify and engage with key decision makers and buyers in key markets very, very well. So yeah, using some really good, cool tools as well.
And perhaps just a question regarding, the whole idea of actually outbound sales. With everyone working from home at the moment, how's that impacted the way that you're working with your clients?
Yeah, it's been really interesting to see, actually, because I think there are some global impacts in terms of, if you track the weeks from when we first had lockdown. But what we found early days was that people were all sitting at home. They weren't in the meetings they were normally in. They were more available. Tools like Lusher enable you to connect with people more readily when they're, when you're not going through a switchboard. So we were finding that we were connecting really, really well. Actually, our connections were up on the previous few weeks. What happened then, I think 2 or 3 weeks in, is it got to business as usual. I think organizations had more structure and it sort of got harder again. But I think overall, we now seem to be in a bit of a steady state, or a new normal, as I've been calling it. And what we're finding is that we're still having good conversations. We're getting to people probably better than we used to get to them in terms of access. And that creating initial interest is working. I think probably part of the challenge down the line, and we as a business focus predominantly top of funnel. I think the challenge is further down the line in terms of people actually buying things. But in terms of connecting and qualifying opportunity, then we've seen a really strong continuation of opportunity creation. So I think it's, when you take out our pause customers and then you rebalance it, we're as good as we were in terms of percentages.
And perhaps a couple of final questions here. What, Richard or Lee, what advice would you give to any company who's looking to prospect at the moment?
There's never a right or wrong time to start doing it. But we talk a lot about, I think Richard mentioned it, keeping the wheels of business development turning. Back to my first point, I think you've got to keep moving forward. You've just got to do it in a different way, more empathetic way, And I think it's connectivity is really, really important. We will come through this. So you've just got to keep communicating, keep speaking. Building great content now is probably now more than ever important to with the exception of talking about COVID-19 all the time, because it just seems to be I think infuriating quite a lot of people, and I think research shows that as well. So there's never a right or wrong time. You just got to keep moving forward. As I say, everybody's got a job and a role to play. So keep moving forward.
I think one of our customers who's based in the US said to us early on, he said, in my experience, where a void is created, your customers fill it. And that was in response to his frustration that his global organization was sitting on their hands, he felt. So I think that's, a reason why people need to make sure they keep in touch. I think also, just to sort of add to what Lee was saying there, is that I think the organizations and the individuals that keep in touch now are the ones that will win in the longer term, because you need to be top of inbox. We always talk about being found, but also, what we don't want to be doing right now is going in and trying to sell people stuff. We should be going in, understanding, listening, understanding their plans, what's changed, what needs to happen, how they're going to move these things forward, what's top priority, how the priorities shifted. All of that question-based information and fact find that should be what we do anyway, frankly. So I think if we can keep that activity going and never stop selling in the right way, then when we come through and budgets start to open up, then hopefully we're top of the inbox and get found and can then move into conversations that progress.
Richard, Lee, thank you very much for taking the time to talk to us today. Lovely to learn a little bit more about Durham Lane and how you're helping your clients to develop pipeline in these rather extraordinary times. Thank you.
If you enjoyed this episode of Let's Talk ABM, be sure to subscribe so you're notified when a new episode is posted. Feel free to rate and review this podcast. Thanks so much for listening.